The United Nations top court has ruled that Israel's settlements in the Palestinian territories do break international law and must be abandoned. Now, the court found that Israel's occupation amounted to annexation and that Palestinians were systematically discriminated against in the occupied territories. The advisory opinion is not binding, but comes as pressure grows on Israel over its war in Gaza. The UN General Assembly asked the International Court of Justice in 2022 to assess Israel's occupation, settlement and annexation of Palestinian lands. So let's get more from our correspondent, Lucia Schulten, at the ICJ in The Hague. Welcome, Lucia. Tell us more about what the judge has been saying.
Yes, hi. So the judges have just ended their readout of this advisory opinion, and they have said that the continued presence of the State of Israel in the Palestinian occupied territories is unlawful. Also, that all settlement activities must be ceased immediately. New settlement activities are not allowed to take place, and also settlers should be evacuated. We have also heard from the court that other states should do nothing to help the situation and should not recognize this situation as helping it to continue. And then finally, the court has also asked the United Nations General Assembly, who has asked for this advisory opinion, to take steps to end the presence of Israel in these areas, and also the Security Council.
OK, so given that this ruling is non-binding, will it have any consequences?
Yeah, so even though the court has addressed people, especially the United Nations General Assembly, this does not mean that this is binding. So that means it is not saying Israel is bound by the court to do X or Y. Nevertheless, it does have an impact, and you can already see it now because there are the first reactions coming from the Palestinian sides that hail this as a great day for them. And also the Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, has taken to X and said that the country, Israel, cannot be an occupier in its own land. So it does play a role on the political level, but it might also play a role on the legal level. So we have heard that countries should not do anything to kind of give a green light for the existing situation. And this could be, for example, in areas such as trade treaties or tariff treaties. A legal expert told me that this will put other countries in a situation where they have to carefully think about how they do it to be in compliance with international law. And of course, this does put pressure on Israel.
OK, thank you for that, Lucia. Lucia Schulten in The Hague. As we've been hearing, the UN's request to the court to assess Israel's presence in the Palestinian territories dates back to 2022. The war in Gaza has brought added attention to the proceedings. More than 50 countries submitted arguments in the case.
The aftermath of an Israeli raid in the West Bank earlier this month. Such raids have become an almost daily occurrence in what Israel says is an operation to root out militants. Armed with bulldozers, they destroy Palestinian homes. The West Bank is considered occupied under international law. Others have their homes destroyed because they were built without an Israeli permit. DW talked to a family in East Jerusalem last month who had received an evacuation notice, their home slated for destruction. It was one of 13 demolition orders issued by the Israeli authorities just that day. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israel seized control of the West Bank, along with other territories, and annexed East Jerusalem. In 2022, the UN General Assembly asked the World Court to look at Israel's occupation of these two areas. The illegal building of Israeli settlements was one factor raised by many of the governments that delivered arguments in the case. Even the United States admitted that the settlements are inconsistent with international law. Settlements are strewn across the West Bank, housing over 500,000 Israeli settlers. An additional 220,000 settlers live in East Jerusalem, which has changed the demographics of the area. Israel views the whole of Jerusalem as its capital, But under international law, Israel's takeover of East Jerusalem with its holy sites is illegal. It's especially contentious as the Palestinians view East Jerusalem as the capital of their future state. As for the West Bank, it's partly controlled by the Palestinian Authority, but Israel maintains overall control, including the territory's borders. Different zones are separated by walls and checkpoints, limiting movement for Palestinians. Palestinian farmers have complained that this patchwork of zones creates unfair access to resources like water. Meanwhile, Jewish settlers are accused of attacking crops, property and people. Most of the 52 governments that delivered arguments in the case urged the judges to declare Israel's occupation illegal.